What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Sly Jordy, and welcome back to another end of year video. We've been doing this since 2019, so going on about 5 years now. And yeah, I'm gonna get it in time this year. Of course, last year's video was actually this year's, technically, because we didn't get to uploading it until about January 4th. But yeah, we're here now. I'm gonna try and get this out for the end of the year. I am actually recording it on the 29th, so I feel like we're definitely going to get it done. But yeah, I've changed quite a lot since you last saw me. If you're just one of the very few people who only watch the end of year videos, which will be none of you, but if you go back to those, if you go back to that video at the beginning of 2023, or rather, yeah, what was meant to be the 2022 video, you'll see that I've changed a lot. My not in terms of the way I dress. I still sort of dress like that sometimes, but yeah, there's definitely been a shift in how I look in a lot of ways. And yeah, we're going to talk about how 2023 basically went for me today. I've got a lot to talk about because 2023 ended up being one of the best years, if not the best year of my life, and certainly the most important. A lot of big things happened this year when it comes to like getting a job, when it comes to going out a lot more, and of course we'll be talking about YouTube as well, obviously. So first of all, I want to thank you guys so much for how many subscribers are we on now? 837 subscribers. When I made the 2022 video at the beginning of this year, we were at 776. So we've gained a pretty big amount. And if you guys remember 2021, where we only gained like 30 subs that year, yeah, big change. I'll take what I can get. I'm basically aiming for 1,000 subscribers, and then I'm not really going to care as much anymore. I mean, if we hit certain milestones like 1,100, whatever, then obviously I'll still address that. We'll still do specials and stuff, but I'm not going to be as fixated on, you know, the subscriber count as much when we reach 1,000, because that has always been the end goal for me. I'm really excited to make a 1,000 subscriber special video, though, for sure. But yeah, that is the end goal for me, 1,000 subs. We'll still be going past that. I don't call it an end goal in terms of, you know, but it's the final goal. After that, I'm literally just doing it for fun. There's no objective, whatever. You know, it's just, YouTube's really self-validating for me. I love it. I always will. And yeah, I don't think I'm going to stop anytime soon. So if that's good news to any of you, that is awesome. Yeah, I'm going to be around for quite some time. So we're going to get into talking about 2023 now, starting with how 2022 basically influenced my mindset and my decisions going into this year and throughout this year. So obviously you guys know about my toxic relationship that I was in. It wasn't exactly a relationship, it was never official, but if you watched that video, you would know about that. You would know how I talked about it, how much it affected me, how much it really ruined my mental state at the time. And going into 2023, it was still somewhat affecting me. I was still, the amount of which I've changed this year is absolutely crazy. Like, to think that there was once a time, still this year, where I never had a job. I was still sat in my room most of the time, especially since I'd finished college, so I had no reason to go out, other than to go to the job centre, really, to, you know, apply for universal credit and actually get some money, and while looking for a job. So obviously that is a talking point right away, just getting universal credit, actually having my own money in my own bank account and stuff. That was mind-boggling. That was absolutely crazy. Did I get the bank card did I get my very first bank card this year, or was it last year? I don't know, but either way, that was completely new. I had a whole, like, it was just, it blew my mind, because I've grown up not poor. I'd say I'm quite well off. I mean, look. But yeah, I'd say I'm more of like upper lower class if that makes any sense, you know? Like, we had enough money to get the things I wanted most, so we got the PlayStation 4, like, a month or two after it came out. You know, my brother got an Xbox around the time that Xbox One came out. And we got like 1 or 2 games a year when they came out. So full-priced games. If we're talking full-priced £60 games, we got about 1 or 2 a year, which to think of it now, to compare to now, is absolutely crazy because I've got money now. I'm earning money from a job. I can get much more than that. But there was a time where I got what I wanted the most and not much else besides that. I never had any extras and whatever, which I'm completely fine with. I'm not trying to say I was poor or anything. I'm just saying that we were a bit lower in terms of the class threshold, you know. We got what we needed, we got what we wanted most, and that was it, you know. Just like, if there was a list of 5 things that we wanted most, we got about 1 or 2 of those things. In most cases, it'd be 1, because, you know, we get like 2 games a year and a console, whatever, like whenever that came out. So most of the time it was a couple of games a year, which if you guys remember, that was mostly WWE games. It was Need for Speed. It was, it was Need for Speed. It was WWE. It was Red Dead Redemption 2, whatever. Other than that, yeah. Just had to make do, really. If I wanted a new game, tough shit, I'd have to wait until like the end of the year or something like that. That changed when I started getting a job. I think I earned about, well, not earned, but I think with Universal Credit, I think I got like £150 a month, which even now is quite small for me, and to most of you watching this, that might be really small as well. But that was big. That was absolutely massive to me because, you know, even in times where I'd get like gifted money on a birthday, you know, the most I would get is about around 80 quid to 100 at most. Most people would just give me 20 quid or whatever. That's if I didn't ask for anything. If I didn't ask for anything, then I'd get like 80 to 100 quid, whatever. But if I did ask for things, then obviously that money went towards those things. Like, for example, my birthday in 2022, I asked for the PS Vita, Saints Row the Third, and Tomb Raider 2013, I think it was. And, of course, Need for Speed Most Wanted 2012 for the Vita. There was a cut there because I completely lost my train of thought and had to go back and re-listen. But basically, the point I'm trying to get to is I was never used to having a lot of money. You know, I had enough to get what I wanted on the special occasions, and not almost any day that I wanted, particularly. That changed this year, and that started when I started you know, gaining universal credit, because obviously I went to college and all that, so I'm entitled to it. Not that I'd want it now, it's not enough money, really. Don't really care for it. But again, we'll get to why that is later. But yeah, that was totally different. I started buying my own clothing, started buying, you know, games. I bought a Nintendo DS that you can see here, Nintendo DSi. I bought that because it was nostalgic for me. I could have, obviously, and probably should have, in any other circumstance, would have bought the Nintendo 3DS. Or the 2DS. They're the same price, but better, and a generation ahead, so double the games. But I wanted a DSi because I remember as a really young kid asking for the Nintendo DSi, asking my mom for the Nintendo DSi, whether it was for my birthday or Christmas. I didn't get it either way. I never got a DSi. I think my mom was quite smart at the time, because I do remember having the DS Lite. So, yeah, there wasn't that much of a difference. I think the DSi had, like, internet features, like better internet. Yeah, it had, like, the Nintendo Store, stuff like that. So it was better, but not in the ways that I personally would have needed it to be. It just sounded cool. It was the cool thing. I think a lot of kids around me actually had the DSi at the time, whereas I didn't, obviously, because what I've already mentioned. Like, we got what we wanted at the start of a generation, and then, like, we never really upgraded. So whatever, unless I asked for it. But I was never really in the know of knowing when things were upgraded. But I knew other kids in my school had a DSi. I never got that. Obviously, it didn't matter because like a year or so later, I got a 2DS at one point and stuck with that for years on end. But yeah, I made it a point this year to buy a Nintendo DSi purely to kind of redeem that whole situation for younger me who really wanted that. I don't know why I still remember really wanting one, but I have one now. It's awesome. Should I have bought a 3DS instead? Yeah, probably. But, you know, I don't mind. It looks really nice. It's matte black. Look at this, man. Look at this. This is it. This is the Nintendo DSi. It is beautiful. So, other than that, other than actually getting some universal credit and earning money, well, not earning money, but getting money, I earn money later down the line, I was also getting interested in new things, case in point, Formula One. I was getting back into Formula One just in time for the 2023 season. And that was because late 2022, I was playing quite a lot of the F1 2018 demo. I had an urge to play racing games, and obviously I couldn't get Need for Speed Unbound at the time because I didn't have a PlayStation 5. And I was done with all the other Need for Speed games. Rivals, I'd done everything. Payback, I'd done everything. Heat, definitely did everything. You guys know that. So... yeah, I just had nothing to do Need for Speed-wise. Wasn't interested in the Crew 2. Didn't have an Xbox, so I didn't play Forza. Gran Turismo, I couldn't really get into for some reason. I could, but it was a lot of storage, and I preferred other racing games, to be quite honest. And so, I played F1 2018's demo, which allows you to play a full race weekend in the career mode on Australia. Lots of fun. I used to restart it quite often, like do the race, then restart it again with a slightly higher difficulty and a different team. And yeah, I loved that so much that when I did start to get money, I bought F1 2019. I don't know why I bought that one in particular. I could have bought 2018. Oh, right, that's why. 2019 and 2018 are virtually the same game, but 2019's got F2 and is essentially better than F1 18 in terms of engine sounds, graphics, etc. Basically, 18 was 19's beta, so I went with 19. Really loved that game. I posted clips on the second channel, Slide Geordie 2, quite a lot for F1 2019. It was a whole ton of fun. So much so, I bought F1 2020 because that had an extra mode, that had my team, and I heard it was a really good F1 game anyway, and yeah, I spent time with that game, a few months with F1 2020 as the season got underway, and obviously I support Williams. I know we haven't had the best of times in recent years, but this season was fantastic. I absolutely loved how well we did this season. Even I think Sargent did well as well. I like Logan Sargent. I hope he has a good season next year. But yeah, I bought a lot of merch for Williams. I think about 4 pieces of merch, 5 pieces of Williams merch this year. So I must have spent like a few £100 just on Williams merch, because we know sports merchandise, it's all like full price. It's monstrous. A bit stupid, but honestly, it's my team. I'm going to support my team whenever I can. So I'll gladly give my money there if it means getting us a little closer to the top. I know that's a bit of a stupid thought, because obviously my money is very minuscule, but every little helps, you know, just like Tesco says. But yeah, I started to change my fashion sense a little bit. Of course, I'm wearing rings now. I'm wearing chains. I mean, I was wearing a chain last year, but this is like a proper, not one that rubs the colour off on my skin sort of one. This is like, I wouldn't say it's proper jewellery, but it looks proper, you know, it's a lot more practical. And obviously, this chain is especially special. Saints Row, you guys know I'm obsessed with that series. I love Saints Row, particularly the 4th game. I played Saints Row 2 for the first time this year, I think that was. And, you know, played Saints Row 3 quite a bit as well. Yeah, had a lot of fun with Saints Row. I do really love that game. that series, and I'm actually cautiously excited to play the reboot next month live on the channel for you guys. I know the story is going to be awful, but I think we could just make fun of it, and I've heard the gameplay is quite similar to the third, so I think we will still somewhat enjoy the game, and it might make for an interesting video later on next year, where, I'd call a video In Defense of Saints Row 2022, get a bunch of clickbaity views off that, and not defend the story, obviously, because that's indefensible, but, very much looking forward to that. Obviously, I've also been shopping on other places. At the beginning of this year, I was shopping on Amazon quite a lot for my clothing, and that took a lot of money. I bought my first leather jacket on that, though, and I wanted a leather jacket for years, but I finally got that, so that's great. A few other pieces of clothing. It was mostly clothing and video games that I spent with that initial money. I was just having a lot of fun. So, moving on to March, not moving on, because, moving on to March, but not quite moving on, because a lot of things I'm going to talk about in March, or was going to talk about in March, we've already just spoken about. But in March, I officially got my first job. I think I actually had a work trial in February. That was either February or really early March. I think it was a very early March. And I got a pretty good job. Well, not a pretty good job, to be honest, but it was a pretty good paying job by my standards at the time in terms of how much money I had on me. So anything would have been good at that point. At a bar. I worked at a bar as a glass collector, and the actual tasks itself, they kind of clickbaited me a little bit. They didn't disclose the full information, the full extent of what I was actually supposed to be doing. So I wasn't really just the glass collector and glass washer. I was also a dishwasher somehow. There was also some instances where I would deliver the food because they didn't have enough staff. And then the staff themselves were mostly fucking arseholes. They were not nice at all. A couple of them were, particularly in the kitchen, but I didn't work in the kitchen. I worked on the bar. There was a couple of lesbians, I'm pretty sure they were lesbians, that just didn't acknowledge me at all. Barely spoke to me unless they needed something, so obviously they weren't very nice to speak to. There was an older, more mature woman, and I'm talking age. I'm not necessarily talking in terms of sensibility or whatever, but she wasn't nice. She was proper harsh towards me. They didn't have any patience for me at all. And if you know me, you know I've got stuff like autism, ADHD, and the like. And some things that would be very basic to most people, including, especially them, aren't as basic to me. I need a little bit more assistance in some areas to actually learn how to do this stuff. They were not patient with me at all. And I ended up getting quite depressed. I was earning a lot of money, especially over Easter. That's for sure. But it wasn't worth it. There were times where, so my timings were, I'd work about 8 hours. So 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. most of the time. I would get home after those 8 hours. And you guys know my sleep schedule. I don't wake up until like 11, 12-ish. So, it would be 10, 11. So I wouldn't get much time to myself. And usually I would stay up for a few hours afterwards when I did get home. But there were times where I was just so depressed working that job that I just got home and got straight in bed. I just had no motivation whatsoever. I was absolutely drained. And this made my dating life a little worse because obviously I was getting a little bit more impatient with people's slow replies and stuff, and just getting a bit more frustrated in people just not being what I wanted, and I didn't have patience. I lost a lot of patience because of the mood I was in at the time. So I was doing less of that as well, and so the loneliness was creeping in a lot more. And like I said earlier, was just really depressed working that job. But there was some bright sparks. So we're going to talk about how I got out of that first job, but technically not. I'm technically still in the first job, or was. It's a seasonal contract, so I'm jobless right now until the place reopens. But there was this other place just round the corner, works under the same company umbrella, that I would get sent to every now and again if they needed a glass collector. I fucking loved it there. I cannot stress enough how different the atmosphere was when it came down to the music. It was more classic sort of music, like 80s, 90s sort of thing, for the most part, whereas my first job played more of the stuff you hear on the radio, so no music I liked. And I was cleaning tables as well, like not what I signed up for at all. Had I have known what I was exactly what the job would have entailed when it was given to me. There were times where they sent me to the hotel to make beds. I didn't apply for that. You know, I did not apply for that at all. And yeah, I just didn't know what I was getting into. But at this other place, it was like the vibes were so much better. The people were so much nicer as well. Like the boss there would actually she would actively try to get me out of my shell. There were some times, obviously, during the course of this year where she was really strict, perhaps more so than she should have been. But for the most part, I guess I could honestly put that down to tiredness and not her actual character. She got me out of my shell. Like, I'm very, very shy, very quiet. I keep to myself quite a lot, especially if I'm uncomfortable. But she would get me out of my shell, so much so that I would actually gain so much more confidence when I worked at this place. And it got to the point that when I'd go to work, particularly on days where I thought it would be a bit more busier at that place than the place I was working, I was hoping they would send me there. And when they would send me there, I couldn't contain my happiness in front of them. It probably came across as a little unprofessional, just actively being happier, being sent elsewhere than the place I was applied to. But I couldn't help it. It was just so much better at this place. And it got to the point that I practically begged the boss at the other place to do whatever she can to get me there. And apparently I'm not an exclusive case, well, at least not in terms of not wanting to work at this original place, because a lot of people have complained about working there, and I wasn't the first. I probably one of the few to actually stick around, though, because I saw a few people come and go, especially from that original place. But yeah, we got, eventually, like they said, we're doing all we can to get you here, which I cannot put into words how much I actually fucking appreciated that. They were literally fighting for me to move me over to their place. Obviously, they get something out of it. They get a good worker. And I guess that does show how good I was as a glass collector, and how efficient I really was, how much energy I had. Because it does take a lot out of you. Anyone who's a glass collector and works 8+ hours, like, you'll be able to agree with me. It takes a lot out of you, especially your legs. You are walking around all day. Literally all day. You are walking miles upon miles upon miles. One of the most common things you'll be asked by customers is, how many miles do you walk in a week? Like, and they look at you like you're some kind of athlete. It's crazy. Really validating, but seriously, very, very tiring. But I can take being physically tired if mentally I'm good. And I was mentally very good at this place, and eventually I was able to go there. And around this time, I also got outside a little bit more, and I can thank my stepsister quite a lot for this. I don't know why it took me so much courage, but this is how much my anxiety really affects me at times. It took me like hours to muster up the courage to ask her, hey, can you take me out clubbing, you know? And yeah, eventually, obviously she said yeah, like, why wouldn't she? Like, but for some reason I felt like, you know, a burden. I always feel like some sort of a burden, and that's how low my self-esteem really was at the time. Obviously over the course of this year I've developed a lot more confidence, but yeah, at the beginning was not like that at all. Obviously, I never really go outside. I don't really hang out, or didn't really hang out with people. And still to this day, I prefer to stay inside, but I definitely want to hang out with people a lot more. Just inside would be better. But yeah, that was really fun. And that, honestly, because I started clubbing around the time I was still working at that first original job, it was like, it really helped kind of reset my brain, sort of, like reset my mood, a complete reboot. Like all the stress that had sort of piled on me throughout the week was kind of let go while clubbing. Just getting drunk for me is sort of like a reboot, honestly. And obviously I'd be working the next day, but I could afford that because to do that because obviously my shift didn't start till 1. So even if I was out clubbing till 6 in the morning, I'd still get at least 5-6 hours of sleep, which is more than enough for me personally. So that was great. And that definitely changed my life quite a lot because it added so much confidence on. Talking about that, I also reunited with an old friend from school who worked under the same umbrella, just at a third place. And obviously, like I said earlier, since I was getting sent around as well, sent around other places as well, obviously other people within the company would be getting the same treatment. And this guy that I remember from when I was in year 10 in school, so a few years ago now, he worked there for a day. I recognized him straight away because obviously he was the guy I talked to the most when we went to the same school. We were on the same bus together. We used to hang out. Like the first times I really started hanging out in public, way back in the day, like when I was like 15, 16, it was with this guy. And I reunited with him. And the first thing we did, I was like, I asked him, hey, do you go clubbing? And he's like, oh yeah, a lot. Like, whatever. Like, dude loves drinking. Who doesn't? First decision I made, let's fucking go out. Let's just go clubbing tonight. I don't know if it was a Friday night or a Saturday night. I think it was a Saturday. We obviously went out, and we go out most weekends now. Obviously slowing down a little bit here and there for numerous reasons that I'll get into, but that was really, really, really cool. And it does help to actually have a best friend now who I can talk to about a lot of my issues that I haven't even spoken about on here, that I think I will talk about at some point, but when I'm ready. There are things that are still kind of early in recovery phases that I don't feel secure enough and confident enough to talk about yet. I've been toying around with the idea of making a video at the beginning of next year and scheduling it for the same time in 2025, just to see, like, if I've changed or whatever. Kind of like the hi me in 5 years sort of videos you see. I feel like that would be really cool. I've been toying around with that idea, so we might do that. I stopped streaming on Twitch around this time. Nobody really cried when I stopped streaming on Twitch because, let's be honest, no one viewed me on Twitch. It wasn't as if the streams were bad. It was just the algorithm on that is just so different. And I think I'll have to put it down to the categories. The games I would play, or the game I would play, should I say, was Call of Duty Ghosts, which regularly had about 30 odd viewers on Twitch. And I would regularly get up to about 4 viewers, which was really cool. Like, sometimes I would get a decent amount of comments, more so than I would on here, on YouTube, but, depending on what I was playing, but it just wasn't enough. I didn't have enough motivation for Twitch. I might have even ended up quitting it in 2022. I don't know. I think I quit it this year, at the beginning of this year, because I was putting out some Twitch VODs, but stopped doing that, and then I stopped streaming on Twitch entirely and moved everything over here to YouTube. So I'm not going back to Twitch. I don't like that site. I don't like the TOS that they really do. I don't like how the company handles themselves, to be quite honest. I don't trust that app. So sticking with YouTube, live streaming and all that is probably the best decision. So now we move on. We're up to July in my little timeline here. Going on dates again. So obviously now that I had pretty much gotten a lot more confident. I had a better, I worked at a better workplace. I hope you guys didn't hear that. That sounded really weird to me. Obviously I was getting more confident, and like I said earlier, as I said earlier, I had a lot of loss of patience as a result of that first job, and dating I couldn't focus on at all because I just wanted to go to bed when I get home and just sleep. It was hell. It was torture. And so when I got my life together pretty much again, obviously with these new experiences, but kind of easing myself into it, you know. Obviously the whole clubbing thing was a big deal at first, and I would stick really close to my friends, whereas now I could just go with one person and lead the way for the most part. Be the dominant, have a dominant sort of personality, whereas, at the start I was very inward, very shy. I don't really want to say dominant sort of personality. More of me actually came out as a result. And so I got back into dating, and then I met this non-binary on Bumble, super liked and everything, because I did pay for the subscriptions for the dating apps once I got enough money for that. That's another thing I would like to mention. Some apps work really well for that. I wouldn't recommend Bumble, though. It's kind of died off, to be honest. I wouldn't recommend that. I'd recommend Hinge and Tinder, depending on what you want. Hinge is great. Hinge is fantastic in terms of how much information you can put about yourself on there. You can really, really put across your personality more than just a bio, you know? There's prompts, and Tinder knows this because they've added those things now. But yeah, I matched with this person, and they were gorgeous. I wanted them the second I saw them, and we ended up going on dates. And there was a massive green flag for me because they ended up coming over here to the town that I live. So they went on 2 trains. They went on a really long journey just to see me for a few hours. And obviously I spent a lot of money on them, on the dates. Anyway, we went to aquariums, Natureland, etc. We don't know what Natureland is, but it is essentially kind of what you'd guess. There's animals there. Really, really cool. Also, it had a mini aquarium part as well. That was cool. A little bit run down, I will say that. Natureland, if you know where I live, which you probably do, you'll probably know about Natureland as well. It's not very good. There are some areas that are really clean, it is well kept, but there are areas that are run down and not well kept. It's a pretty yin and yang place, and the aquarium was a lot better. We also had a meal and everything, and I was trying new foods because they're vegan. And I just really liked them, and I really wanted them, and I wanted to spend a lot more time with them. But this was also around the time of the summer. So my usual work schedule was just the weekends. I was just a glass collector. Unless it was a proper holiday, then I would be working every day. So in the Easter holiday, and a particularly other holiday, bank holidays, whenever kids get a week off or whatever, that's when I'm called to work every day pretty much. And that's why my first job hit me so hard at some points, because that Easter holiday was not good for me at all. I was really depressed that week. And obviously at this second place, they would need a glass collector every day. And so during the summer, I worked every single day apart from Monday. Monday was my one day off. And so Mondays, I kept myself really, really busy with this date. And if you guys remember, if you guys have been watching my F123, my team series, I think I mentioned it 1 or 2 times that I was going on a few dates. I was booking hotels and stuff, and we were getting really intense and intimate in this relationship. And eventually, it turned into my first actual relationship. It was a big moment for me, and I really liked them. But I do wish I would have gone into it a bit more objectively and gone into it like not with my feelings first, but with my head first, because there were some subtle red flags right at the beginning where I should have at least been a lot more cautious and not gone head first into a relationship. Now, I'm not going to say it was a toxic relationship, but it definitely would have ended up being like that. There was definitely hints, there were definitely moments of it where it wasn't what I wanted, it wasn't what they wanted neither. And as amazing as it was, there were some issues. But at first, in August, going into September, it was incredible. And obviously, they accepted it when I asked them out. Because, I mean, look at me. I'm amazing. So, yeah. Very busy in August. Like, extremely busy. July going into August, going into the early September before everybody went back to school. Very busy. But I earned a lot of money during that time. And a part of me is kicking myself that, you know, I was dating at the time, because I just think about how much money I really could have by now. Like, I was earning about 800 odd every 2 weeks. And then obviously I get holiday pay at the end of the year. It was a lot of money. And I spent a lot of that on train tickets, on hotels to London, to Lincoln. Also went to places like Spalding, I think it was. Not Sleaford, but Peterborough quite often, because they lived in that area. Not in Peterborough, but in the surrounding area. Like, I'd go to Peterborough and get a bus to where they lived. And it was a lot of travelling and a lot of money being spent. And yeah, most of my money was going towards them. And then a few bits of clothing here and there. They are actually the ones that introduced me to Vinted. I stopped shopping on Amazon. They found out I shopped on Amazon and had a fit, which I don't really blame them, to be quite honest, because that's a lot of money. Amazon's very expensive. But yeah, shopped on Vinted. That's where I got this Venom t-shirt, by the way. It is so cool. Got a bunch of other stuff as well. These tracksuit bottoms that I only really wear inside, because I'm not the type to wear them outside. And just a bunch of other clothing, shoes. Like, I really spoiled myself this year. I think I also bought a few games as well, maybe a couple of DS games. I think I bought Mario Kart DS and Animal Crossing Wild World from Vinted, so that was cool. And yeah, September, I actually started to get a new haircut as well, with a lot of motivation from my partner at the time. So yeah, they did become my partner. I don't know if I mentioned that earlier. I probably did. And I've started to grow just a little bit of a mullet. Let me show you. So it is a bit long at the back. I do think I need a fade on the sides, to be quite honest. But the beginnings are there. I didn't want it to be too different from my original haircut. I just wanted to get rid of the sides a lot more, because I've noticed that when my hair does get long, what pisses me about my hair the most is the sides when they get thick and long. And so I just really wanted to get rid of those. Like, I saw Valtteri Bottas's haircut, and I really liked that, and I wanted something similar, just my sort of spin on that. So yeah, it is basically becoming a mullet, but a small one. It's not going to get like really long and stuff. I'm not going to do that. Just, I think about this length. Well, you can't really see, but basically the length you'd already seen is just fine. Yeah, it's going really well, and I think I'm going to look a lot different by next year. And I already look different compared to last year's videos. So yeah, that's weird. But that's really cool as well. I'm hoping to finally get the courage to get a piercing, maybe a tattoo next year. I really want to go for that, definitely. But I know with a tattoo, I don't want to get one of those little ones that most people get. Like, I want a sleeve tattoo right away, right off the bat. And yeah, just a little nose ring would be really nice. But yeah, moving into September, obviously, with that new haircut as well. The slightly new haircut. My birthday was incredible. my partner at the time had basically come over to spend it with me. So a lot of passionate stuff. Went out clubbing as well with a lot of the people I really cared about. So my best friend, my stepsister, and obviously my partner. And before that, I had a family meal. So I had the family around me. And it was probably the best birthday ever. A little bittersweet now, considering I'm not with, my partner at the time anymore, but more about that later. It was amazing. I wouldn't change a single thing about it, especially since I was meant to go to work the next day. I got there. I was there for maybe an hour or two, and it just wasn't busy. So I got to go home to my partner, who was in my bed asleep, and I got to surprise them when they woke up. That was fantastic. That was lovely, amazing, blah, blah, blah. But there were some difficulties going on. They were overstepping, not set boundaries, but boundaries that were kind of obvious. Like, I'm a little difficult it's a little difficult for me to speak up against someone I actually really like and love, whether that's a partner or a member of family or a friend. Like, if I deem them very, very important and want to keep them around, I don't want to make them angry. Or I don't want to piss them off or whatever, just in case we fall out. And I guess that's completely down to trauma, and I wouldn't speak up enough with my partner at the time, which I definitely do regret. But honestly, it was quite obvious, some of my signs of uncomfortableness, or discomfort, that's the word. They were uncomfortable with the fact that my main hobby is playing video games. I'm not going to get into that because you guys know how much I play video games. You're watching me right now. You're most likely subscribed, and you know how often I play video games. So that was already a red flag for me. They were trying to push me into pursuing a big career, which I completely understand, but it's not for me right now. I'm 21 years old. I'm not ready for that. I literally don't need to. I live with my mom still and my family. I'm not going to live alone ever because I can't, because of my mental health. But I want to slowly transition into being able to, move out at some point. And that really wound me up, especially towards the end of the relationship, which I will get into. But October was when things started to fall apart quite a bit, because there was lots of disagreements. There was lots of dissatisfaction. Like, it wasn't enough. A lot of uncomfortable moments. They didn't quite seem to accept what made me me. It felt more as though they were more in love with the fact, with the potential that I had. The potential of the person I could become, rather than the person I am. And I gained that, I had that thought quite often towards the end of the relationship, to the point that I was seriously considering breaking up with them, especially after a lot of arguments, particularly in October, when we did book a hotel and, slept together that night. That day wasn't good at all. It came down to the point, like, a particular way I hold a knife and fork can be seen as childish. But that for me is an autistic quirk. And my best friend has seen how I eat, and he voiced it as weird, but he didn't act genuinely fucking embarrassed, He laughed, he just made fun of me for it. That's fine, It'll make me a little uncomfortable, but it won't make me feel fucking shit. It won't make me feel miserable. And it made me feel miserable when my partner seemed actually embarrassed by me. And there were warning signs of that literally as far back as the second date. So we're on the train on the way to London, and guess what I see? I see the fucking Emirates, bro. Arsenal's stadium. Bear in mind, this is a thing I've only ever seen on TV and video games. I'm seeing it up front, in person. You see the Emirates on the train on the way to London's King's Cross. It was awesome. Like, it was a big moment for me. I had a fanboy moment. I don't support Arsenal, I support Wolves, but, still, it's a big moment to see a big, iconic stadium like that. And they were just so embarrassed by it. They were like, oh, what are you doing? Like, it was just really uncomfortable. And it was uncomfortable on that second day, before, obviously, we got into the hotel room and things did a complete 180. And it was amazing. It was really, really special. I wouldn't change a thing about that at all. I wouldn't change a thing about most of our time together, because it was magical. It was special. It was beautiful. But, yeah, there were red flags from the get-go that reared their ugly head when we got ultra serious and used to the idea of being together. His true character, and yes, he did identify as a boy sometimes as well, but they were mostly non-binary. Whatever. Yeah, well, not whatever. That sounds like a really disrespectful, like, shrug off. But yeah, I just deem everybody's equal to me. Whatever. Like, I don't need to get into that whole explanation. His proper personality kind of reared its ugly head. Well, rather, quirks to his personality reared their ugly head. Because overall, he's a great person. I wish him the best. I did really love him. I still do have feelings here and there, but they're shut down pretty quickly when I remember what it was like to actually be with them. They were very judgmental of me. They called me childish on multiple occasions, immature on multiple occasions. And we get to November, and I finally decided that was it. Enough is enough. It was a big occasion because I was meeting their mother for the first time, and their, I guess, stepdad, pretty much. At their house, at their home, meeting them, talking to them, etc. It was fucking miserable. It was terrible. I hated almost every single moment of it. I think I slept the whole second day because I was just so emotionally drained that it affected my physical body. There were only 2 times I felt like that this year, and that was then and what I was on about earlier when I worked that first job. And just like I did with that first job, where I ended up practically begging the other place to hire me instead, that was what finalized my decision to be like, right, I gotta break up with this person. I love them so, so much, but I can't be with them anymore. And that was it. That was it. There was no big commotion. I didn't even do it to their face. I couldn't. I was just so miserable. I was so low. And I was so unstable at that point mentally. There were times where it became a little bit of ping pong throughout November where I wanted to get back with them. I blamed myself for the breakup. And then there were times where I'd give it proper thought and be like, no, I've done the right thing. This is exactly what I needed to do. And yeah, that's how it ended. And how I coped with it was to get right back into the dating scene, get right back to paying for the subscriptions and just meeting new people. Because for some reason, if I'm not in a talking stage with someone, I feel utterly worthless, like nobody wants me. And so being in a talking stage is, great for me. And so I was in, throughout November, the late November, and this month I was in multiple talking stages. I made it clear, obviously, I'm not obviously going behind people's back. I made it clear that I was talking to other people, and, we'll just see what happens, see if we have a genuine connection and see if I should meet and stuff. And a lot of them failed. A lot of them clearly weren't ready for what they said they were ready for. What they said they were ready for. So yeah, a lot of them have ended up blocked in the last month. I moved pretty fast there. I don't like having my time wasted. But yeah, I have this one person who's really cool, but they seem really, not mentally unstable, but their coping mechanisms, they're not talking to me enough. So I don't really know like obviously they're not on their phone, they're not really online at all, and therefore not really responding to me. So I don't really know if I am in a talking stage with anybody at this point. But I am talking to numerous people where there is interest, back and forth, which is what I need. And obviously I'm still on these dating apps, still paying for a couple of them, and meeting new people. And I hope to get out more and actually meet these people face to face, because but with a lot of these people it's hard enough to even get them on call, and that was another reason I broke up with my ex, because they would like to call me out of nowhere. My anxiety is really high, and I hate going on calls for things that aren't emergency. Like if it's not about an appointment, if it's not about work, if it's not about an emergency or something that needs getting done quick, I don't want to be on call all the fucking time. It's nice to be on call if like this person I was just on about earlier, who isn't responding to me that much because of their coping mechanisms, but we've gone on call a couple of times and we've played Roblox together, and that's so fun. I need that. If I'm to be on call with someone, I need to be doing something with them on call. I can't just listen to a conversation, because the way my brain works, I'll just zone out and completely lose track of a conversation and would have to pretend that I heard every word that person said. Because if I ask them to repeat themselves and they zone out again, we're going to run into some real big issues. And that happened quite often with my ex. A lot of awkward conversations on call. Breaking up with them was the only decision. Again, I didn't want to. I didn't want to stop talking to them like I have now, but it had to be done. It had to be done, because if they weren't going to change who they were, why should I? I didn't want to change too much. There's no problem with me, and they made me feel like there was a problem with me, when in reality there was never a problem. So, next up, Christmas. Christmas was weird. Christmas was very stressful. I finished up the Saints Row 4 video. Finally, thank you to everybody who viewed it. It's got over 200 views now. It is my most successful review to date, which I'm so happy for, so thankful for, because it's the one I put the most work in, other than the Saints Row 3 review. And that one was done because of Share Factory limitations. But the Saints Row 4 one I managed to fit inside 58 minutes. So, good for me. Awesome. But yeah. Where is the music? We'll talk about that in a second, because I didn't finish what I was literally just talking about. Yeah, I finished that Saints Row 4 video, handed my PS4 Pro to my cousin, so I'm actually on the PlayStation 5 now. And if you watched the last live stream on F1, it's been a bit weird. The PS5 is quite different to the PS4 in a lot of aspects, and it was a bit weird to get used to live streaming on it, but I think it's a lot better, because you can actually pause the broadcast when you need to do something else. I've not checked back on the live stream whether it actually pauses it, whether it just skips ahead, or whether it just has the pause screen throughout the video VOD. But either way, it's very, very cool. I like it a lot. It's a lot more accessible. There's better features. It's just better in every way, shape or form. This camera, I've not spoken about it, but I mean, look at me. I'm in high definition, bro. I'm in HD. The last camera, the PS4 camera, didn't have that. The PS5 is HD camera. That's awesome. We got back into Five Nights at Freddy's this year, which was awesome. I do wish I was a bit more consistent with the uploads on that front, but we started playing that throughout Halloween. That was hella fun. Five Nights at Freddy's 2, when we played that, was very surprisingly easy. I'm going to go back to it at some point to attempt Night 6, and obviously I want to play FNAF 3 very, very soon, but that will be next year. Where is the music, though? I haven't made a single song since Binge Hours Part 2 back in September 2022, and I do apologise for that, and I apologise to myself for the most part, because I actually really do want to make music. I haven't quit. Trust me, I have not quit. I just haven't had the time for it. It's been so hectic, and I want to make proper music. now. So I need to actually save money and get proper equipment, which I would have done had I never had a relationship, but you know, it is what it is. And it's going to be my main focus now going into next year. Like, what I want to buy the most is a laptop, a mic, etc., etc. And then we're going to make proper music. And we might put it out on SoundCloud exclusive, like with YouTube as well, obviously. But I'm also toying with the idea of getting proper free-for-profit beats and going on to Spotify with them. Who knows? We'll have to see as we go into the next year. But, yeah. In terms of YouTube, I'm looking forward to the coming years. Of course, the subscriber count's going up again. I don't think I spoke about it, but in July, obviously, F123 came out, and that's been a big help to the channel with the My Team career modes. We've gained a lot of views from that. Ridge Racer, we've been playing a lot this year. We've got a lot of views from that. I've got a lot of views from a lot of things I've done this year. WWE, Fortnite, we brought that back. For the OG season, which was a ton of fun. I'm sorry I haven't come back to play Chapter 5 or whatever it is yet, but I'll try and get round to it at some point. But that was a lot of fun. We brought back Ryan Plays Gaming to the channel, so it was really cool to be doing dual streams with him again, and hopefully I bring that back more often. I do apologise for not being able to get out a Christmas special with TJ. I'm going to try and work something out for New Year's, though, with Red Dead Redemption 2 or Red Dead Online. So don't worry about that, or maybe do worry about that. It's down to TJ really, because I've got plenty of time. So I'll try and get him on when I can, but it will most likely be a New Year's special now that it's past Christmas. But yeah, that's all I've got to talk about. 2023 was a very, very important year for me, and 2024 is going to be just as important, just as big, and unlike this year, I'm ready for it. I wasn't ready for 2023. I kind of eased my way into a lot of things. Some things caught me off guard. I had a lot of confidence throughout most of it, especially when I got into my first relationship. That's how I got there in the first place, because of the confidence and stuff like that. And obviously just how great I am as a person, I suppose. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a really good year. I'm a bit nervous for the start of it, like, of course, getting back into a job and stuff. I'm hoping to get back into the same place. I hope that's how it works. I hope they'll take me back, which they should, really. I was a really good worker last year, or in the last year. So I think that will work well. I think that will work out. And I'm hoping to make more friends. I'm hoping to get into another relationship at some point, but I'm not as, I don't want to say desperate, but I'm not as needy for it as I was this year. I really put my all into just one person this year, and even though it didn't work out, it was beautiful. I don't want to make the same mistake again next time. So for sure, I'm going to put myself first properly. If it doesn't seem like, as much as it will hurt me to let a person go, if it doesn't seem like they're for me, it just is what it is, and I'll have to let it go. And I need to learn to say no to myself and to other people. So that's kind of like the big point that I'd want to do for 2024. In terms of YouTube, I want to do more reviews. Obviously not as much as big and as much work put into it as the Saints Row 4 review. That took me all year to do. Literally all fucking year. Over a year to do. So I don't want to do that again. I kind of want to shorten it a bit more. Still put as much effort into it. In terms of the script, but in terms of how long the video should be, I don't want to go as in-depth because I don't really need to. But yeah, looking forward to it. We should get a new Need for Speed next year. I'm getting back into playing Black Ops Cold War again. Black Ops 3, we're pretty close to finishing that, getting to max level on the multiplayer. I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm really, really looking forward to it. Yeah, 2024 will probably be mostly, if not more, of the same. Yeah, I'm all for it. I can't wait for it. I'm excited. So thank you guys so much for continuing with me on this journey so far. I'll obviously keep you updated wherever I feel like it. Go subscribe to the second channel, Sly Geordie 2. I feel like I want to do more videos like this on the second channel. That would be really cool. Let me know how your year went, whether you want to DM me on Instagram, @SlyGeordie, or put it in the comments below. Would be really cool. Let me know if you want to see anything particular for the channel next year. And before we reach an hour and I can't render this video anymore, I'm going to end the video right here. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to everybody who's been a part of my life this year. I love you. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Whatever. I'll see ya. Hit that like button as high as you possibly can. Comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you all in the next video. Until next time, peace.